Remember those creepy chain emails from the early mid-2000s? I got one this morning. There are digital ghosts that live in the static between the ones and zeros, relics of a dial-up past. You might remember them. They were the urban legends of the early internet, passed around in chain emails with subject lines that screamed at you in all caps, "Read this or you will die." The stories were always the same. Some tragic figure, usually a little girl, wronged and left for dead. If you didn't forward the email to 10 of your closest friends, she'd crawl out of your monitor, or your toilet, or the static of your television screen, and she'd make you pay for your silence. We reposted them, terrified and thrilled. We laughed about it at school the next day, mocking each other's superstition. But late at night, alone in our rooms, we were glad we clicked forward, just in case. Who wants to take that chance? Those ghosts went quiet for a long time, buried under decades of memes, social media, and an internet that grew too fast and too loud to hear their whispers. But I got an email this morning, and I think one of them found me. It arrived at 7:43 a.m., interrupting the sterile rhythm of my pre-work routine. Coffee brewing, news podcast murmuring from my laptop speakers, the gray morning light filtering through the blinds. I was doing a final sweep of my inbox, deleting junk, flagging work reminders when it appeared. It materialized at the top of the list, unread, bolded, from an address that was just a chaotic jumble of letters and numbers. There was no preview text, just a single word in the subject line: sorry. Every instinct screamed at me: malware, phishing scam, delete it and move on. My finger hovered over the trackpad, but life has been a flat line lately. A relentless cycle of work, gym, sleep, repeat. A part of me, the part that was still that 13-year-old kid afraid of the dark, was curious. It was a door, slightly ajar, into a darker, more interesting room, so I clicked it. The email was stark white. The text was brutal, concise, and in that same, blaring uppercase font. On. Night a woman was struck by a drunk driver. He didn't call for help. Instead, he pulled her broken body from the asphalt and dragged her to a storm drain. He forced her through the grate and left her to die in the filth and the darkern. He drunk and drunk driver. They found what was left of her 2 days later, washed up against a filtration screen. At the morgue, they cleaned the sewage from her hair, wiped the grime from her skin, and sealed her in a body bag. 2 weeks later, a mortician went to prepare her for cremation. The bag was still sealed, but it was empty, except for a puddle of stagnant, stinking sewer water. If you do not forward the stagnant, stinking sewer washed of there people by of midnight, she will be in your room to prepare her for cremation. If Freck still sealed be cresced of the loth. The Mation, the bag was still sealed, but it was SHW stand in the corner and watch you sleep. She will seek vengeance for being forgotten. This is not a joke. You know what you did. A laugh escaped my lips, but it was hollow, devoid of any real humor. It was a relic, a digital fossil. It was almost charming in its crudeness. The final line, "You know what you did," was a nice touch. A bit more personal and accusatory than the ones I remembered. I wondered who sent it. Then I saw the attachment. A single file. Probably just some cheap AI-generated jump scare. A distorted face, something to cap off the nostalgia trip. I was still smiling as I clicked it. I humored them. The file opened. It was just black. A perfect, featureless black square. Not even the faint glow you get from a screen trying to display black. It felt deeper than that, like it was drinking the light from my screen. A void. What a letdown. I closed my laptop. Work was a meat grinder of deadlines and conference calls. I punished myself at the gym afterward, my muscles screaming, my mind blissfully empty. By the time I got home, all I wanted was food and oblivion. Later, I was slumped on my couch, nursing a glass of wine and swiping through a dating app. I was messaging a woman, Kaylin, and the conversation was stalling. Searching for anything to say, I remembered the email. She was my age. I figured she'd find it as amusing as I did. I told her about the all caps story, the threat, the whole 9 yards. She laughed through her texts and asked me to send it to her. Said she missed that kind of stupid old school internet crap. So I did. I pulled out my phone, found the email, and forwarded it to the address she sent me. Then I dropped my phone on the cushion and went to take a long, hot shower, letting the steam wash the day away. When I got out and checked my phone again, there was a string of new messages from her. Holy shit. That's not funny. That is absolutely terrifying. I typed back a joking reply, something like, I know, right? I'm already checking under my bed. Her response came a second later. It wasn't playful. No, I'm not talking about the story. The picture. Open the picture again. Turn your brightness all the way up and look. Just look closely. A knot of ice formed in my stomach. It was late. I was tired. This was the last thing I wanted to do before trying to sleep. But I did it. I walked back into my living room, turning off the lamps until I was standing in near total darkness. I opened the email on my phone, downloaded the attachment again, and slid the brightness setting to its maximum. The screen flared, a brilliant white rectangle in the gloom. I held my breath and stared into the blackness of the image, my eyes straining. And then I saw it. It was faint, like a photographic negative that had been almost completely destroyed. But it was there. A crescent of pale, discolored shapes, barely reflecting the phone's light. Teeth. A row of teeth pressed together in a line that was too wide, too straight to be a smile. It was the grimace of a skull. And above them, 2 round, milky orbs. Eyes. They stared out from the oppressive black, impossibly wide, as if they were being held open by hooks. I gasped and threw the phone onto the couch as if it had burned me. My heart was hammering against my ribs. That feeling you get when you miss a step on the stairs, that brief, sickening lurch of freefall crashed over me. Who the hell makes an image like that for a stupid chain email? The effort, the subtlety of it. It was too much. The story was amateurish, but the image felt like something else entirely. It felt malicious. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Kaylin. I opened it in an editing app. I cranked the exposure. You need to see this. Below the message was an email notification. She had sent it back to me, the same subject line. Sorry. But this time, the attachment was named. My hand was trembling as I opened it. For a moment, I just stared at the file name, a profound sense of dread washing over me. This was the point of no return, the point where the joke was well and truly dead. I opened the image, my throat closed up. The air in my lungs turned to poison. It was a face, or something that wore the shape of one. The exposure was still low, the details swimming in a sea of digital noise and shadow, but it was clear enough. The skin was the color of bleached bone, stretched taut over sharp, angular features. It looked less like skin and more like polished porcelain, catching the light with a sickening, waxy sheen. My brain tried to rationalize it, to file it away as a mannequin or a hyper-realistic sculpture. But the expression, no human hand, could have crafted an expression of such pure, undiluted hatred. The teeth were clenched so tightly, it seemed the jaw should have shattered. The lips were gone, peeled back into a bloodless, hateful line. The nostrils were flared into massive, dark pits, like the twin barrels of a shotgun. And the eyes. Oh God, the eyes. They were still wide, owl-like and staring, but the skin around them was wrong. The brows were furrowed down in a look of intense, analytical rage, a motion that should have forced the eyes to squint, but they remained stretched open in that agonizing, eternal stare. It was a face at war with itself, a paradox of flesh and fury. I ran a reverse image search. Nothing. Not a single result. It didn't come from a horror movie or some obscure artist's forum. It just existed. In my inbox. The person who made this wasn't just telling a scary story. They were trying to claw their way inside your head, and they were succeeding. I was standing in my kitchen, my back against the cold refrigerator, just trying to get my breathing under control, when a sharp, authoritative knock echoed from my front door. I froze. A glance at the clock on the stove showed it was 12:10 a.m. My apartment building is quiet. No one knocks on anyone's door after 10, let alone after midnight. I crept to the door, my heart a frantic drum against my ribs, and pressed my eye to the peephole. The distorted fisheye lens showed me a police officer. A woman. My stomach twisted. I opened the door, a chain of confused questions already forming on my lips, but she cut me off before I could speak. "Sir, I need you to step outside into the hall, please." Her voice was low, controlled, but her eyes were wide, fixed on something over my shoulder, inside my apartment. She looked like she'd seen a ghost. "What's going on? Is everything okay?" Her eyes snapped back to mine, and her voice dropped to a tense, urgent whisper. "Come, out, now. Please, just do it." Something in her tone, a frayed edge of genuine fear, made me comply without another word. I stepped into the hallway, and she immediately pulled the door shut behind me, the click of the latch echoing in the silent corridor. It felt horribly final. She gestured for me to follow her, and we walked quickly, not stopping until we were outside in the cold, damp air of the parking lot. She introduced herself as Officer Reeve. She explained she'd been here for a noise complaint. The kid 3 doors down, Orrin, blasting music from his parents' expensive speakers again. After giving him a warning, she was walking back to her car when she glanced at my unit. I live on the ground floor, right by the main entrance. I have a bad habit of leaving my window open, the blinds pulled up. She said the streetlights cast just enough of a glow to see inside my bedroom, and she saw someone. She said it was the outline of a figure, standing perfectly still next to my bedroom door, motionless, like it was waiting for me to walk in. Her voice cracked as she described it. She said she'd seen a lot of things, but the way it stood, it wasn't right. It wasn't the posture of a person. It wasn't the posture of a person. It's too rigid, too tall. She said she got the sense that it was something deeply, fundamentally dangerous. All the while she spoke, one hand rested on the grip of her holstered weapon, her gaze darting between me and the dark rectangle of my bedroom window. My blood ran cold. The shower. I'd walked out of the bathroom, through my bedroom, not 30 minutes before she arrived. I hadn't turned on the light. I just grabbed my phone and left. If there had been something standing by the door, I would have been inches from it. I just hadn't looked. My legs felt weak. This couldn't be real. It had to be a mistake, a reflection, a trick of the light. "I have to see," I stammered, taking a step toward the building. I needed to look for myself, to prove her wrong. Officer Rev put a firm hand on my arm, stopping me. Her face was pale in the chemical orange glow of the streetlights. "I really wouldn't," she said, her voice barely audible. "For your own sake. You don't want to see it." She wasn't giving me an order. She was giving me a warning. I asked her what I was supposed to do. She told me to wait, that she'd already called for backup. Once they arrived, they would enter the apartment. That was half an hour ago. I'm sitting in the building's sterile lobby now. It's cold. 2 other officers are in my apartment. The door is shut. There's been no noise, no shouting, just silence. I haven't told them about the email. How could I? What would I even say? That a ghost from a 20-year-old chainmail is standing in my bedroom because I failed to forward a message. They'd think I was insane. I thought it was a joke, a stupid, nostalgic prank. But I keep thinking about the email, about the image, about the impossible, hateful expression on that face. I keep thinking about what Officer Reeves saw, standing in the dark waiting for me. I keep thinking about the silence from behind my apartment door. I don't know what they're going to find in there. I don't know what happens now. I just know that it's past midnight, and I never forwarded the email.